Hey, we should be live. Hello, everybody. I don't know if anyone's currently watching, but we have something a little bit different today. Now, we are going to be continuing with Hero Forge builds and our Pokemon Infinite Fusion run later down the line. But today we're going to do something that I've been planning for a little while, but we're gonna just get straight to it. I have no idea I've had no idea how to make it work. So today we're just giving it a shot. And I have my first guest on today. Now, this guest is someone who I met very recently, about a month ago, at a convention. We'll discuss that in a moment. But I know them by the name of AceOfSables. That is their online name, but in reality they are named Aleksander. And I will switch over to the collaboration screen. Hello, Aleksander. AceOfSables.
Hello there.
AceOfSables. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, hi everybody. I'm Alex. You can call me Alex for short, because I've been moving around in international circles, so Alexander is a lot for some people.
That's awfully Alexander is a fairly. I feel like that name translates well in lots of languages, though. I feel like it though it's spelt slightly differently, works well in a lot of languages.
Yeah, or you can call me Ace. As you said, my online nick is AceOfSables.
Yeah.
I'm running TTRPGs since 2017, I think.
Okay.
So soon will be 10 years.
It's coming up fast. I think I started in 2018, so it's a similar time, actually.
And as you said, we met at Pyrkon, the Polish biggest fantasy convention. It was a first year for me as a dungeon master on duty. So I ran some games for other people at the convention who wanted to play with me.
Yeah. So I was actually I was just reading somebody who joined in. Hello RPGs. Hello Toby. Good of you to both join us. But yeah, how we met was I joined one of the games that you were running. Of course, I'd seen you around at a couple of the events that we had gone to together, specifically the ones surrounding Daggerheart. And that's something, you were running some Daggerheart games, and I had never played Daggerheart, though I had GM'd. I'd never played, and I was looking to dig my teeth into it, and you were running a very interesting game, which was Dungeons of Drakkenheim, right?
Yeah.
And that one, what made you choose to run? We'll get into the game that we actually played, but first I wanted, you would know a little more about it. Can you describe what Dungeons of Drakkenheim actually is?
Yeah, of course. It is actually a live play campaign on YouTube by Dungeons Dudes. I love them.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't finished the third and final season, but I watched like most of because it's 3 campaigns in the same city, in the same setting, interconnected with each other. And they were actually one of my first D&D live plays I ever watched. And they are launching, they launched this year a campaign to make a book taking their setting into a Daggerheart. They already launched 3 books. One of each is right now. One of them is right now an Annie nominee. Um, and yeah, I love the idea. I never actually was able to run proper Drakenheim campaign, and as I backed the campaign, the Kickstarter, I had access to playtesting materials, so we were playing on the playtesting materials.
Okay, so the previous versions of it were using Dungeons and Dragons, right? And then
Yeah,
Daggerheart came out. They went, oh wait, that works better, and they decided to
yeah,
adapt it
exactly.
to the whole the bounce back and forth of narrative, specifically the players, the players' successes and failures leading whether or not certain bad things can and will happen to them through the hope and fear mechanics. Uh, it made for a cool design of campaign. And what made you
Uh,
decide to choose it for the Pyrkon games that you were running? Because we'll get into the game that we actually played in a moment. Because I'm quite happy with the character I came up with in the moment. It went really well. I'd love to talk about that. But what made you decide to choose Dungeons of Drakkenheim for that?
I will also add 2 words about the setting,
Yeah.
because it's very dark fantasy, kind of pre-post during apocalypse in some sort.
Pre,
Well,
post, during
make
apocalypse. It's there was an apocalypse before. There's an apocalypse happening right now, and there's about to be another one.
it depends on how the campaign goes. It can be
Yeah.
possible.
Honestly, I mean, the knowledge that there's just an ongoing apocalypse is always a fun setting to be in.
um, so some cosmic horror, some body horror, but very dark, with political intrigue, factions that all are basically on the grayscale, and which the players want to cooperate with, which they don't, and it's just up to them. So yeah, I just love that setting so much. Despite not liking much horror vibes, but this was perfectly my taste.
Horror,
Dark, but not too horror-y.
yes. Dark fantasy, but not explicit. Uh, not explicit. Uh, Not explicit horror.
Yeah. And how I chose it? Well, I wanted to. I put a lot of thought, because it was also my very first time. Um, I knew that I need to. It's a Polish convention. I need some games in Polish, of course. But I for the most of my TTRPGs adventure, I ran and played games in English. So I also knew that there are many English speaking people at Pyrkon that
Like me.
cannot engage in a lot of content provided because they don't know Polish. So I set on that I will have a bit lighter. I still run a Witcher themed game, so they are not much lighter, but a little bit lighter
You ran
games in
Witcher themed as
Polish.
well.
Yeah.
Cool.
So I run those during the day, but I had 2 evening sessions when I knew that there will be less people. Uh, so I stacked on playing. I had materials in English. It was easier, so I went with Drakenheim because I could get some of those um, spooky vibes.
Some of them spooky vibes, while the lights had turned down slightly lower as well.
And it's much quieter at the place we were
Well, I
playing.
imagined I had been there a couple of times during the day, and I think there's a reason why that very same building, the TTRPG hub, was the place that had that the sort of the special room that was there. I know that there was a special room that was like the quiet room. And I feel like
I was there actually there, but it was a little bit quieter, but well, it's better this than nothing.
Marginally quieter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't actually gone inside, so I didn't know the difference, but it seemed a little difficult to get around the amount of noise that was there. But yes, the game that we ended up playing was I don't know where in the Dungeons and Drakkenheim playtest stuff it comes out with. Was it a pre-made adventure? That one that you were running, or was that something of your own design within Dungeons of Drakkenheim?
No, this is actually a pre-made. Well, this is basically a very small spoilers. This is a very first mission of the campaign.
That they played.
If you skip prologue, because the prologue is optional. Right. So what you played is the very first mission that every party will have,
or at least part of it. But we got our asses handed to us by the bloody rat prince.
Yep.
he wrecked us. I had, when we were playing, I created I was handed a couple of different options, but you gave me the option of one of the first things you said was a sorcerer that was an elementalist, and I was like, that's exactly the class I want to play. Out of all of them, that's the one I'd go with first. Let's roll with that. And so I created a Dracona, which is sort of the Dragonborn mirror in Daggerheart. And I created a black-skinned fire Dracona with an earth elemental affinity to sort of like give it that lava effect. And I named them Obsidian, and I quite enjoyed that. And I made this at the beginning before I knew anything about Dungeons of Drakkenheim, and then you turned me to goo. So I became
wow.
Well, technically I did that, but yeah.
Well, technically the Rat Prince did that.
Technically the Rat Prince, that's a hell of a sentence.
Contamination you suffered.
The Rat Prince turned me into goo. That's a hell of a sentence.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
for a context, mechanically, there's additional affliction that can build up and twist and transform every creature, including player characters. So as it was ramping up, he randomly, and it was like a perfect random roll for your character. There was
the
like
the lava dragon rolled to become goo.
And your bones just melted, so you become a goo that just became a magma.
I could then squeeze myself through gaps. If it had been a longer the thing I don't get about that is you mentioned this is a long-standing campaign that they have. It seemed very much like there was only a limited amount of that one can take, and it builds up very quickly, especially with the Rat Prince. Did you, because it was a one-shot, enhance how quickly it built up? Or was that just how it built up?
No. The only thing that I enhanced was the amount of travel rolls you got, and the rolls for contamination during the travel rolls. Actual fights was as I could run it by the book. As with Daggerheart, it offers a lot of options, environmental features, character features, and all of that. So that was just how it could happen. Well, you stumbled into their lair just to have an alarm raised by the very first adversary you faced. So, well, that's on you.
Yes. We kind of did very quickly screw everything up and ruined the stealthy approach. But hey, it's a one shot. You go big or go home.
Yeah,
You know?
that's they are for this.
Just because I'm hearing, just going to take a slight break, just for technical stuff. Anybody who's listening in the chat, can you let me know if you can hear fuzzing on my microphone? Because the direct
I
monitor
can
on
hear that.
you can hear that.
Yeah.
That's worrying, because I'm not sure why that's happening. I sound fine on this. Okay. Alright, so there's no fuzziness on the background. Because I'm getting a lot of that on the direct monitor coming back to me, and maybe like a tiny bit? Okay. If it gets larger, please let me know, because that is, well, probably not all that great. Ever so slightly, actually? Okay. It's slowly been growing. Thank you for jumping in, first time chatters. Hello, Smithology Gaming. Hello.
And hello to Nihilus. This is my friend from my regular Monday group.
Hell yeah.
We play 2 campaigns every other Monday, so Nihilus will have his game tonight, but
Fantastic. Later on,
not playing that campaign.
I
Actually,
see.
I'm taking a little bit more time off for myself, so I can attend on the every second Monday.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you for joining, Nihilus. But yes, where were we before I was so rudely... This guy's the ultimate cock tease DM, just saying...
I am.
I understand the pain. He turned me to goo in the one shot that we did in Pyrkon. He turned me to goo. I feel cock teased.
No, he meant the other. I like to build up things during the longer plays, and I was putting a lot of small hints, a very slow build up, with a lot of things. That's why they were joking that I'm ultimate cock tease.
Okay, I see it. That is... Yeah, I mean, you may complain about it, but I think you mean cock tease is endearing, to be honest. That sounds like a bittersweet cock tease. You know?
Well, I think it's as a positive. I treat it as a compliment. Really.
Your player turns around and says, "You fucked with me, DM. You messed with my head," and you're like, "Yeah, that's my job.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what I'm supposed to do." But yes, so I wanted to ask you, sort of continuing along the topics of Pyrkon. You've been DMing since 2017. You've been, but Pyrkon of this year was your first time. Was that your first time professionally DMing, like in a new place with strangers? Was that your first time doing that?
Well, I played with strangers a lot. My beginnings for the most of my GMing, I actually was playing with the people online. So I met a lot of randoms. My regular Monday group, as I mentioned, we began as a random people from my post. So not really. I more I was not used as much to playing in person, but I didn't had much problem with it. Um, so yeah, basically not much difference for playing with random people. I also once like kinda professionally, as you said, played in one of the charity games. I don't remember right now what it was. I should have checked this up earlier, but I don't remember right now. So a few years ago, I played once in the charity stream. So as from professionally, yeah, these were my first games.
Well, my experience with that went a sort of a very different way with, like you mentioned that you've played with strangers a lot. In pretty much all of the games that I've run over the years, the one-shots and things, I've had like a pool of people that I've just met and picked up from various different places that I have met at like parties through university or things like that. Like I gathered a bunch of people together and brought them onto. I have a separate Discord server that's designed specifically to get people playing Dungeons and Dragons, and that's where a lot of my games have originated from. And when I only started, like during university, it was mostly in-person games. Then I moved to Poland, and all of my player base that I'd met in Britain was still in Britain. So it all transformed into online stuff. Then only recently, about a year ago, when I started working for Tell Me, did it actually switch back to in-person stuff. I'd occasionally played a game or two, but yeah, it was that was a bit of a jump as well. It was back to in-person, but also I was playing for kids then, which I'd never done before. That was new entirely. But when you were at Pyrkon, did anything change with your preparation as you were getting ready for Pyrkon, for these games?
Well, I definitely needed. Totally, I think I printed like almost 100 pages.
Wait,
'Cause,
hold on. That went in one ear and out the other, and then like had to circle around a couple times. You printed off 100 pages?
yeah, around. Well, not everything was necessary. Something was like printed. Like I thought it might be worth printing, but I wasn't sure. So I decided,
better safe than sorry.
I'll do this. Yeah.
Emotional support printing. That's exactly right, Monkeys Mugfish. Man, I did that. I did that so much during the. Sorry, continue.
No, please say.
This is Battle of the Gentlemanliest now, isn't it? Okay, I'll go then. I'll break the cycle. I did a very similar thing when I started at Tell Me. I've managed to sort of zero it out. The amount of preparation hours I spend now is about the same, if not slightly less, than the amount of time the game will take. But when I first started out last September, I was like, I don't exactly know how much I need. I should have everything. I should have everything planned out. And I had like a presentation with all sorts of pictures behind me. I had the notes. I had written pages of notes for the books. And I was like, wait, I've never done this for my games. And I've noticed this is just objectively the worst games that I'm running at the minute. I should back it up. And it took me a while to figure out exactly how much prep was the right amount of prep. I don't blame you for having 100 pages on. That makes a lot of sense.
The main issue is I never run a game without my laptop. Never.
And you didn't have your laptop at Pyrkon?
Yeah, well, I had, but I couldn't use it at the table because we didn't have their electrical infrastructure. I couldn't plug it to anywhere. So
Right.
and
Did you predict that, or was that
it
something that happened in the moment and you brought your laptop and then went, oh
no,
shit?
I no, I we knew that
I
beforehand.
see.
So that was the reason before overprinting.
I get it. I get it.
But that was the main difference.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. So, continuing the topic of Dungeons of Drakkenheim. When you run games, now you've mentioned to me before that you run mostly one shots and mini campaigns. Do you prefer to run those as pre-made adventures, or do you homebrew them? What's the ratio of you having done that over the years? Because I know which one, I know where I lie, but I want to hear yours first.
I homebrew almost everything. The only pre-made adventures I basically ever play are exactly introductory testing adventures for testing out new systems. So yeah, these were basically the only thing that I ever run from the book. Otherwise, I'm homebrewing basically everything. Because I think this is my hello Trash Mama at RP Good Point. Because my biggest suit when it comes to GMing, what I do the best and what gives me the most fun is taking the character backstories with some questions to the players in what direction they want to take their characters, what type of story they want to tell with their characters. And I just smoosh and weave them together into some sort of one campaign, one main idea. It gives me the most fun, and that's what I do best. So my biggest suit, as I learned over the years, is actually lays in the long-term campaigns. Despite I played mostly one-shots for many years.
See, I think actually me playing Dungeons of Drakkenheim with you was maybe even my first time playing a pre-made adventure. I don't think I've ever run one. I'm sure I haven't run one, and I don't think I've ever played in one either. It's all homebrew for me as well. And I think you are dead on the nail that there is a certain joy in weaving together the stories that, like the little, I think it's called, I read up on something a little recently called knife theory, which is just when you ask your players to create backstories, you ask them specifically, as a GM, give me some knives. Give me little things with which to stab you. Give me some things, some nice juicy tidbits that I can then bite you in the ass with later. And that's the, like, it can be anything from, like, instead of just like maybe their parents died and the killer is still out there. Or maybe they didn't die and they don't know where they are. Maybe they did die but they haven't spoken to them in years. All of those are examples of knives that you can just turn into something. I think, while yes, in a long-term campaign you can have more knives, but especially when you have that's, I mean...
Yes, Nihilus, you were.
See, this is...
You signed a campaign with me.
We need... It's something important as a GM. We need to stab the players. We have to. But as...
Yeah, there is no story without problem.
Exactly.
To
Tygi, nie ma. Chodź. Przepraszam. Tygi, chodź. She's knocking at the door. Tygan, tu. Połóż
We
się.
have another future guest.
We do. She's always guesting. She's always making her presence known. But okay, she's now quietly huffing to herself in the corner. So where were we? Oh yes. So when you were mentioning how sort of weaving characters' backstories together and sort of like tying all of the players in works quite well in long-term campaigns, though I would argue it's harder. I would argue that tying some players' backstories together is harder to do consistently in a long-term campaign without ignoring a particular player or particular players, and making sure that the story still makes sense in a larger scale than it is if you were to take a one-shot and ask everyone to tell people the general premise of the one-shot, then get them to give you just one or two knives that fit with the theme of the one-shot or the mini campaign or something like during the small story, and then finding some way to just weave all of those elements together so that they come together satisfyingly at the end. And if you do that, this is a good sort of segue into the next question, which is about session zeros, because as I think this has become an unavoidable element of DMing now, especially in a professional capacity. Session zeros are more important than ever to make sure that they're all like everybody at the table is figuring out the exact same thing and working towards the exact same, not the exact same, I guess that's incorrect, but the same general goals as a team, the same genre, the same expectations are a big one for session zeros. And for Pyrkon, when we played, you employed some elements of a session zero quickly right at the beginning. What else do you do in your session zeros and in your games to prepare the entire party for your games?
Yeah, since how I got into TTRPGs and how I started GMing, it took me a lot of time to learn about session zeros and all of that, because mostly session zeros were included in my post what one shot I will have, and that was basically all of the session zero, maybe some talking between me and the players before the game. So I'm still developing and evolving on the point of session zero, but I also grew with it along the years. Right now, basically the most obvious point is player safety, and acknowledging that the game is a secondary goal. Yeah. We are here all to feel comfortable and just have fun together. And the game is just a tool to achieve that.
Yes.
So that's why player safety, triggers, and all of that is... These two elements are just connected with each other for me very tightly. So this is a very first point. Secondary, just I used to play a lot, and my very first campaign that I ran, I hid, and the players hid what's going on with their stories and backstories from each other, and it creates one type of vibe. But the thing that figure out and began to understand is that talking around the table actually about your character backstories and where you want to and when in what direction you want to direct your character, because you might just have a character with character backstory and you can let a GM say, to do whatever they want with it. But sometimes, especially me, when I play as a player in longer term campaigns, when I come with a character to the table, I have an actual idea for a story I want to run.
Absolutely.
To have with my character. So talking about that, I figured is also talking about your expectations from the game. So expectations as a whole, but specifically like not keeping other players in the dark is much more fruitous, much more juicy during the game because you're not supposed to metagame anyways. So by informing your fellow players what do you want to do with your character, what are the important story beats for your character, lets them know that even if you don't begin something, you don't need to reach out to other players to engage them with something that is important for your character. If they know what do you want, what type of story you want from your character, they know themselves when to engage you, when push your character, even if they, for example, don't want to talk about something.
I feel
And this creates much better role playing and much better storytelling, in my opinion.
that's a fantastic point, and I can see situations where if you don't do that as part of a session zero, or even consistently throughout a campaign, because sometimes the decisions you make about your character in a session zero will evolve and change, and you kind of need to let your party, the other members of the party, know that, and you need to let the GM know that as well. But if you don't have that conversation, you end up with situations where you know a decision that you will make is, sure, it can be at a detriment for the party, and if they don't know that this is the direction you're trying to take the character and you want the story to go in, there's immediately going to be pushback, and there's going to be that lack of understanding between each other that results in what you're doing seeming like that player behavior, even if you're not intending it to be.
Yeah, I have a perfect example for that.
Shoot, go ahead. Shoot away.
Rob, you will feel personally assaulted once more because in our Monday game, when I play as a player and Rob as well, Niles, Niles' character is a goblin alchemist, basically a Walter White.
Beautiful, beautiful. Goblin meth dealer. We love it.
Yeah.
Nice job,
and
Nihilus.
He is also an evocation wizard because fireball.
Yes.
And he couldn't protect everybody from a fireball. So he chose me, and I play as young girl, barely mature, who just was sent out from her home onto a journey and met all these people. So I'm trying to play the game from kind of perspective of a civilian who is not used to all those things that happen during adventuring. And for me, this is a very interesting perspective for my character. So when I got hit with a fireball and like in one shot got reduced by over half of my maximum HP, I was left at like uh, basically barely over 10 HP. We are at level 5. So she got mad, even though she is a shy person. She got absolutely mad at this because you almost burned me alive. And
I'd be pretty
during
pissed off if I got hit with a fireball as well. I'm not gonna lie.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I prepared.
Nihilus. No, no remorse. No remorse whatsoever.
This is a minor spoiler, but I talked with GM, and last session we were at the Goblin Camp, and 2 other party members who first also disagreed with Nihilus' character. They told him to firebolt some, we didn't know at the time, but some very potent alcohol barrels. And the explosion was basically a 50-foot radius fireball.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it didn't deal that much damage. But, well, to not spoiler stuff, I asked my GM to do some shenanigans. And when we got hit with that fireball from the barrels exploding, I just said to the party, I'm dead. I fell on the ground, not moving. And when fellow PC came to check, we just said, I'm dead. So I hindered our party for that fight, and it could have some serious consequences because it was a hard fight. And, well, I am pacifist cleric.
Yeah.
I'm very supportive cleric.
Is that a peace cleric going on there?
Yep, but
sounds good.
Totally not even debuffs.
Oh man.
I have full buff and healing, some utility.
Only healing. Only healing, only buffs. Oh boy.
Yeah.
And they hit you with fireballs? Come on.
And well, I also have heavy armor proficiency, so.
So fireball's about the only thing that's gonna hit you.
Yeah, -1 dexterity.
Yeah, well, that sounds about right.
She's clumsy. She's just clumsy.
No.
So I did something. I planned something to have a role-playing impact. That fight took basically the whole session we had. No, don't start arguing about how I disagree with D&D. No, not this time.
We're not going to get to that point. D&D has its issues. Daggerheart fixes some of them. End of topic. That's for another day. That's a whole other session.
Yeah, this will be 2 hours talk. Easily.
Oh, yeah. Have we run out of conversation, maybe? As a brief interlude, because we haven't done it yet, I've been drinking.
Wait for a second. I have two sentences to
Go
add.
for it.
So I did something that other players didn't know what happened. They knew that I was at the full HP with 8 on it, and I said that I'm down without saving throw for like almost 20 damage or so, and everybody was so confused. And it was metagaming. I didn't like how everybody just first instinct was to get on the metagaming and try to figure out what the heck happened. But I have a specific idea. It's that was pre-planned. That was I paid my price because basically for the most of the session I sat and did nothing because I was unconscious and dead on the ground. But
And that's a hell of a price to pay.
Others would understand, and perhaps already during when I did that, if they knew what I'm planning to do, because that campaign is also like we hid a lot of secrets. Our characters hide a lot of secrets from each other. So if they knew that, what happened during this fight could have been played differently, and the roleplay that we will begin with another session probably also perhaps could play in a very different way than it probably will if they knew that beforehand.
And how was this the kind of thing that, sort of going back to the original question that I asked, was this the kind of thing that you spoke about as part of session 0, was a direction you wanted to take the character in? Is this the kind of thing that made sense when you initially decided upon that, or was this a thing that hadn't potentially been voiced to the rest of the party as a thing beforehand?
I mentioned, I'm not sure if I mentioned it during session 0, because I believe most of our session 0 was also kind of written before planning the session and all of that. We had a short session 0, so somewhere along the lines or the first sessions, I mentioned that I am playing with a perspective of a civilian. So expect from me to have very different worldview on and opinions on what's going on than a usual adventurer. But I have much bigger plan. I have my theme. I have some things that I spoke with just the GM that I want from that character. And that's a thing I'm maybe I'll start the topic about that, because I was thinking a lot about this recently, and I'll possibly talk with our GM to have that talk, because we were playing for a year, and I have a feeling that if we knew what who wants what from their character, this could be much better.
It sort of mitigates the it mitigates the inter-party bickering, I suppose. When bickering isn't necessarily like a problem as players, sometimes that can add quite a lot of dynamism. But I think it can target the bickering, so that when someone does something everybody at the table understands, oh, okay, this is something towards the direction that they're taking their character in that we've just already discussed. What can our response be to help them in the direction that they're trying to go in, while also helping our character go in the direction we want to go in? And
Exactly.
it's all about expectations. It's what everyone's trying to get from the game. Um, yeah, and I wanted also to ask you about.
You wanted, I think, to mention about your small stream segment,
I
I
was.
believe.
Now, usually in my streams, I have like a little tea of the day. Now, for me today, I wanted to do it before I finished. I'm almost done with like the entire teapot. I think this cup is all I have left. It's that. I've just been sitting here drinking it while we've been talking. But I usually have a tea of the day segment, and I asked you to prepare a drink of your choice as well. And would you like to say a little bit why you've chosen it? What about it is special to you? And it doesn't quite fit in the thing. Oh well, it's there now. You've chosen a yerba mate. Tell us a little bit about your yerba mate that you've picked.
Yeah. First of all, I started. My older brother introduced me to yerba mate years ago when I was teenager, and it tastes good. Most people don't actually know how to prepare it because it's very easy to burn
I've
and
had yerba mate
just
made
overheat
wrong. It
it.
was very bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because you basically, it's a delicate plant. So if you apply too hot water, it gets basically burned in that water. So it gets dark, it gets very bitter. Um, but when you prepare it right, basically the temperature should be at maximum, as you can put your finger in the water and it's not you can hold it for a few seconds. That should be maximum heat. Any more than that, it's too hot. I usually just prepare it as it called terrara. It's a cold brew yerba mate. It could be with ice cold water. It could be the room temperature water, and I basically am using that, and I'm refilling my yerba with like room temperature water. It needs a little bit longer to get the extract from the leaves, but otherwise it's perfectly good. And you get, it is a little bit bittery, but you get instead of the just yerba mate, you can get many different flavors. Right now, what I'm drinking is yerba mate with lemon and mint. That's my choice for a summer weather, more refreshing. But I also have a basic, very potent, very strong yerba that I make when I'm working the whole day.
When you need that pulse of energy.
Yeah, and yerba is great because it doesn't spike like coffee. Coffee gives you a shot of energy, but also a great fall of this energy in the short time. Yerba mate works smoother. It even gives you a bigger kick than coffee, but actually in a longer time. So you don't feel it like coffee, and it's much milder and much healthier to your stomach.
Very nice.
And I love it. I drank it for 4 years, and I will be drinking for years. But also, I have my lovely Dungeon Master mug.
What does that say? Sarcasm, patience, imagination, improvisation, acting, storytelling. 20 in all of them.
Yeah.
That's a cool. That's
So
a
this
damn cool
is
mug. I like that. Now,
so that's my Dungeon Master mug with just plain water if needed.
I don't think I've ever actually said this on the stream, but I'm going to say it right now. And there is a reason that I have the segment tea of the day. I basically skim over it most of the time. It's literally just me saying what I'm drinking. And I don't think I really go into all that much detail, but I appreciate the detail you've gone into, and I'm going to segue us towards where I'm, sort of the next section, with the reason as to why I have tea of the day in the first place. I've had tea of the day for... I usually don't tell people that I'm drinking a particular type of tea or whatever, but when I run sessions, I have a particular drink, doesn't have to be tea, but it's usually tea, that's symbolic to me of the game that I'm playing. So I have so many different teas back there. Today I've gone with a jasmine tea because it is my favourite, and it is my favourite because of my inspirations, and that's the next conversation that we're going to be having. But I sort of use tea and drinks as a way of getting me into particular moods. This works very well for my own emotional regulation, and when I need to stay on a particular topic, I have a specific tea in mind that I have for that topic, or a particular drink. For example, when I'm working, I have a particular type of coffee that I have to make that gets me immediately into the zone. And essentially I do that by only drinking that coffee when I'm working. It's a psychological trick I use to get myself into particular moods. And for particular games that I've run, for example, if I'm running a superhero one-shot, which I've done a couple of times, and I'm planning to do again, I have another, this time using Daggerheart. I've got a Dispatch-inspired one that's in the make, which I'm looking forward to that one when I get around to that. But for that one, I have a couple of ideas in mind, but I'm thinking for superhero ones in the past, I've made myself just black coffee, because I feel like that just symbolizes fast-paced stuff that goes. I don't like black coffee, but it's something that works well for me in that moment, getting me into the zone of it. And the same goes for a lot of other teas, and there are some teas which are very symbolic to me, and one of them is jasmine tea. And the reason why jasmine tea is so symbolic to me is because it's one of the ones that's mentioned very often by Iroh in Avatar: The Last Airbender. And that, as a character, was someone that inspired me very heavily, and I can still... Like, the quotes that Iroh says in Avatar: The Last Airbender sticks with me always. Like, all of them are just so amazing. Pride is not the antidote of shame, but its source. That one's an amazing one, and so many others as well. But jasmine tea is mentioned quite often by him, and I'm not going to lie. The reason I'm so into tea now, and the reason I've got so many of them, is because I've started drinking tea with starting to drink jasmine tea because I admired that character and wanted to be more like them. And I think this is the direction I want to take this conversation next, is what kinds of things through media, through various different things, animation, music, whichever you want to talk to, whatever comes to mind, what would you say your biggest inspiration has been in terms of storytelling? You can have more than one if that's preferred as well. It's a tough question.
I have how much time we We have, cause I probably would have so many.
I have a lot as well. But if we can pick, like, if you were to dig deep and try to figure out which one, if you were to source where your inspiration came from that sought you out, that made you seek out more stories, because there's a couple for me, but I want to know what yours are. Because I think it's like, where's your origin story? That's a good segment name.
Well, it is a very good segment, but also a very difficult question.
Very tough.
And I think
I
will really get.
Remember what I was saying?
Good
There was one person that turns up on every stream that messes with me. It's Kane. Hello, Kane. Yes, I do have at most one birthday per year. Sometimes I don't have a birthday at all. This is true. Going back to the conversation, what do you think about?
I think I will jump to very, very long time ago, and we will go deeply into the origin, because I read a lot of books as a kid, and yeah, I read a lot of fantasy books. So two of my starting points are Eragon series, and I don't remember the full title of the series. I don't remember it in Polish right now, even. But the series about Aragon, I believe one of the books was Dziedzictwo trilogy. The whole trilogy is, I believe, called Dziedzictwo.
I can't remember what it's called in English either. I just know it starts with Aragon and then has more books. That's all I remember it as.
I'm googling it right now because I want to know.
In that interim, we just reached 30 followers. Thank you for everyone that's jumped on board today with the followers. We've had quite a few.
Oh, no, I'm not following.
You're not? Oh, come on.
Right now I am.
Now we're at 31.
Now I am.
That's absolutely incredible. Thank you everyone who's jumped on board today. If you're brand new here, come and join in the Discord as well. You'll get regular updates as to when I'm actually running. You'll find it in the section down below, in the about section somewhere down in this direction past all of this. Face reveal at 40 followers. No, I'm keeping the mask on. Kane, I can't take it off. Sorry, bro. Apparently the Aragorn series is called the Inheritance Cycle.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to finish. So the Inheritance Cycle, and oh my god, Zwiadowcy, the Rangers. I believe it's Ranger's Apprentice in English. Series. So those two stuck with me a lot, and like subconsciously made me like flow into that storytelling interest in general. So I think two of them I particularly love. A character named Halt in the Ranger's Apprentice, he had also some great quotes. I'm trying to remember one
It's tough. It's tough to
right
quote on
now.
command because it's like, oh, I love the quotes of this person. They said so many good things, none of which I can remember right now. God damn it.
Especially with with how my memory works, because my memory is very fragmented. I am just joking that I'm fishing from the edge of the pond of my memory, and whichever fish I catch, this is what I'm reminded of at the moment.
Mhm. Mhm. I have.
So it's
Um.
sometimes very random.
See, I have. This is actually an interesting topic in terms of inspirations because it does tie in. My I ever since I've been very young, I've known I had dyslexia, but I never quite knew how it manifested because in me it doesn't manifest in spelling mistakes and not being able to read properly. It manifests in processing issues, and when I'm trying to describe why I like something, specifically
Oh,
when emotions get in the way, I
sorry,
can't explain it.
I have one phrase from that character. I
Hit
need
it.
to tell now before I forget.
Go for it.
He said to always prepare for the worst, and you will always encounter um, at in the best case you will encounter positive. I'm lacking a word in English. Give me a second.
It's okay.
Um,
We are we are just over an hour in now. I can imagine it's getting tiring at this point.
for me, no.
We're
So
GMs.
yeah. So
I'm out of
always
GM.
prepare for the worst. Because then you will encounter you can encounter only positive disappointments.
Only positive disappointments. I like that.
It's a
It's
great quote.
so like all of the disappointments you're gonna get are exactly what you'd expect, and that's good.
And I think excuse me, it gets very well into like a GM's state of mind.
Mm-hmm.
You're preparing for something, but you are also expecting anything. So
Yes.
whatever happens from your players will surprise you, but you will be at least mentally prepared for it.
Mm-hmm. And what's when you I mentioned to you uh, just before we started the stream what my usual approach is to preparing sessions, and I've said it on stream before as well, but I'll say it again here. When I am a very theater of the mind person. I can get like a rough idea. If I have a solid idea as to what I want, I can get a battle map ready. But the majority of the time, it's theater of the mind, and I tend towards bullet points. And then, once I've written all of the bullet points of things I think could happen, I tuck it aside and I don't look at it again. And I may rewrite them just before the session, or I may just not and see what I remember. And I tend to find that because I've done a lot of performing and I've been on stage and I've been on TV and stuff like that. And I have a lot of acting experience, so I've done a lot of improv in my years, and that comes in handy quite a lot in the sessions that I GM, because if I have some rough points that I will remember from what I've planned, the rest I just let the players basically guide what I remember about how the session's going to go. And then if it doesn't come up, if the players didn't focus on it, or if the players weren't paying attention to it, or if it was something that I was thinking could happen, but I wasn't sure how it would fit in and it doesn't happen, then it wasn't important for the story we were doing, and I tend to find that works really well in the sessions that I play. How does that work with you? You've mentioned you don't usually plan too much, but you plan a bit.
Yeah. It will be kind of layered, because the one thing is what I prep, and the second thing, do I actually look at what I prep during the session?
Well,
Because
that's
it's not
exactly my
always
point.
yes.
That's exactly my point, though. Is like if you
Yeah.
make the prep and then you don't look at it afterwards, then what you remember is really going to be important for the session. But what you don't remember isn't set in stone.
Well, it's kind of different when you approach the storytelling as me, like me, because if I'm weaving multiple story elements together, I want to point at some stuff, throw a little hints, subtle suggestions, question marks during the campaign, and I sometimes need and want to use a very specific thing, and I don't always remember. I have no problem in remembering the points for a session where I want. What are the points? In what direction the party is going? I have no issue with that, because it's just so much in my brain turned around multiple times. So it just a part of the brain. My brain is soaked with the ideas what I have planned, because I spend a lot of time just figuring out in what direction I want to pull the plot. So that's engraved in the brain. But I sometimes want and use and hint at specific things, but I just in the moment I forget. So I'm still figuring it out, but I got a lot more, much more organized lately, and I'm proud of this. My prep, my notes for the campaign I'm currently running. My notes are organized, so I have a much more ease to figure out how I wanted to connect particular dots. The other, as I said, during the session is completely different thing, and my prep also from session to session differs on the campaign I'm running. I run a D&D campaign, which I got tired of, but that was supposed to be another question, so we can return to it
We'll return
later
to that. It'll
or
be
another time. And but one of the reasons was how much it took me to just prepare encounters, figure out monsters, homebrew them a little bit to make them what I want them to be. Plot to it, maps, and everything. Audio. I also grew with how much stuff you can do with just music and sound during the session.
Yeah.
And so currently, I'm running just one campaign, and we play basically around monthly-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the time to prepare everything to a very high level.
Mm-hmm.
When I run the campaign bi-weekly, uh, I like I had bigger expectations from myself than I was actually able to put on that often basis.
Mm-hmm.
So I also learned in the time uh, to try to shrink that. I'll I'll still stay with a map and the tokens because I love some tactical thinking during campaigns. Um, I like kind of gritty systems. Um,
A bit of tactics is that's what when you can dig your teeth into the tactics. That's part of the joy of the combat of it all. It's really that's really fun.
yeah,
But there's a place for it, and there's a time to shift towards less tactical play.
exactly the balance.
Yeah,
The balance is something else, and it's about the context.
we've got to be really
Um,
careful with this topic of
and
conversation because
that could be
we're
another,
we're veering
another topic.
dangerously close to the God damn it D&D topic. We're getting close to
No,
that.
not tonight.
Not
That's
tonight.
what I was skipping over those points.
Yeah. Just
Um,
real quickly, Kane says on the quote that was mentioned earlier about never being disappointed, maybe a good mindset towards players who never remember where the character sheet and or to bring it and or to update it and or what it is and or how to use it. He's talking about himself. This is one of my players. Kane, I've been playing with Kane for years. He's got a bard, and when we were creating his character, I was just like, there's only one choice for you, and it's a bard. I know you're not going to remember anything, and thus I was correct. He remembered nothing about his character every session. He would lose his character sheet. He'd come to the next session and be like, "Oh, were we supposed to level up?" Everyone else was like, "We've leveled up twice. What level? What level are you?" He's at 3. We're level 5 now, Osto. That was the common thing. Yeah. Never being disappointed was a good like expecting that. It helps. Yeah.
um,
But on.
I
Yeah,
I wasn't as bad as a player to not have my character sheet and all of that, but I am a type of player who comes to the session and never remembers what happened.
Just turn up. It's
I
just your character's T-posing in a blank space until someone else describes what's happening.
Yeah, even 2 weeks is too long for me.
Yeah.
So I need somebody else to do the recap, and that's why I, as a GM, come to the sessions. And in my campaigns, I always delegate one of the players to do a recap every session,
Yep.
or just, have multiple that switch from session to session. I'm never doing recapping because I won't remember the most of the fun stuff. I could remind you the most important points that I had prepared, the most important plot points, but no way in hell I'm remembering everything that my players injected into it unless somebody reminds me of it.
Yeah. I also wanted to go back slightly to something you mentioned, which was the sort of preparing for the direction you want the sessions to go in, because this was prep is of course like 90% of what we do as a DM, whether you're a preparer or not. I'm saying I'm not a huge preparer, and I'm much more on the improv thing, but that's because the majority of prep that I do goes on in my head. Especially the longer amount of time I have in between.
It's still a prep.
It's still
if
prep.
If I'm thinking between my everyday things about the campaign, I'm doing a prep in my mind, but I'm doing a prep.
And this leads me into sort of this year I've had to change how my prep works quite drastically, because I've been, as I've mentioned several times, I've been working at Tell Me Language School, which is a place that teaches kids English using TTRPGs as sort of a medium, as a model. And we have much shorter sessions. We have like an hour and a half, 2 hours and 15 minutes sessions. That's pretty much the 2 hours and 15 minutes is the maximum that we have. I think I've got some. Hold on a second. There we go. Okay, I've had to fix something. On the stream, I had to change something around. But cool. Yeah. So where I was going is that these sessions that we run at Tell Me are remarkably short, and as a result, it's incredibly important for me. The one bit of prep. What's this?
Sorry, Kane.
Sometimes the predictability ooze around D&D sessions feel like trying to drive from London to Glasgow and somehow ending up in Denmark. Okay. We're going on a side quest before I get to my main point. The Ooze Around campaign is the one that we've had ongoing that we occasionally revisit, and it has taken some goddamn turns. It started off with them fighting a bunch of skeletons. Then they went to a portside town where they fought some bandits. Then they went on a pirate hunting ship known as the Storm Chaser, got stranded on an island that was basically like Ark Survival Evolved. So I wanted just an island of of dinosaurs. They found out that island had a bunch of four-armed gorillas on it, and one of those four-armed gorillas had been made psychic by a giant gem in its forehead, monkey with a gem in its forehead, and they fought this guy for ages. Kane created a cult of bananas for these for these gorillas to follow, and it ended with this island had a bunch of tech on it as well, like ancient technology sort of thing. And it resulted in the final confrontation, extremely dramatic. There was a lot of high tension, but if you were to boil it down to its very constituents, it went from them fighting skeletons and only just meeting, and then within 2 weeks of them meeting, they were, and there's another player, stole the gem and stuck it into a goblin-sized jelly baby, making it super intelligent. They did that. There was a jelly baby person, which is of my own design, a non-Newtonic golem. But the final battle ended up with essentially pirates and dinosaurs versus flying robots. And they did.
What a mix-up!
They did strap a cannon. One of them was an artificer. Tabishki right there, unofficially Busk. He plays an artificer called Heron Melier, and he made an arcane cannon that strapped onto the top of a T-Rex's head that had been tamed by another member of the party. He strapped that arcane cannon on, changed its colour so it shot pretty lasers, and then they had a giant T-Rex that was on their side in the final battle, which they rode upon to the final confrontation with the four-armed psychic Gorillon. And yeah, they had a giant T-Rex with a giant laser attached to its head, which I think just it got very like 80s cartoony, and I really enjoyed that. And Kane made a very good point there. I offered very briefly, and I don't think even I realised I was doing it, but I did offer Kane as Osto a wish. I told him they were in this sort of machine that had the power to create anything, and the controlling AI of that machine allowed him to bring something into existence to demonstrate its power. And basically, I gave him wish, and he made bananas rain from the sky. And that was the wish that came into being. It was an insane. It's an insane campaign that needs to continue. I will continue it, guys. I will. We will do episodic one shots using the same characters moving forwards. We will.
There was a film about meatballs falling from the sky.
Cloudy with a chance of meatballs. Yes.
Yeah, that bananas raining from the sky immediately popped that up.
I mean, the reason he did it was Osto promised a bunch of Girillon that were prone to a lot of violence because they had been brought up by this tyrannical leader that was controlling them all psychically. He coerced a bunch of them into his own cult, a cult of the Great Banan, under promise of bananas. But there were no bananas on the island. So when he was given the chance to create anything he wanted, he was like, I make it rain bananas. Bananas rain from the sky immediately. And that's how that happened. It got him out of hot water, but
that's an amazing amount of very.
Yes.
It reminds me of one GM. I had a friend of mine that one day we are on the desert and next day we are waking up in the Feywild.
Yeah.
So this is a type of sharp turns, but I usually run much more grounded games because I want to touch that darker, heavier topics. So I usually stray from that, I will say, generally high fantasy stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, this is exactly why that campaign, in the middle of this story, took a bunch of hiatuses. I had to take like months of hiatus in between because I would write myself into a corner. Because this is something that's been very prevalent throughout my own journey of learning to tell a story. Because I've realized my own tendency to... I have a deep tendency towards comedy. I can't stop myself from doing it. You may have noticed it when we were playing in your one-shot. Despite your gritty setting, I would still add comedy in there somewhere, and my character would be very serious and I'd be playing them very down to earth, quite literally, because they were an earth-based sorcerer. Yeah, but I'd be playing them down to earth, but I couldn't stop myself from making jokes, and I've realized that over the years that if I try and write stories with the intent of making jokes, if I try to DM and design my story with jokes in it, then it's going to get way more zany than I can handle, and the players are going to come up with crazy shit, like players do. I'm going to come up with... inevitably, I'm going to come up with something in the moment and say something is real and be like, why the hell did I say that in the moment? Because now it's true. Now it's part of the story. And then I have learnt over the years that retconning when I say something that doesn't make sense is okay, as long as I discuss it with people. That's important. And also, I've learnt that when I'm writing, when I'm planning out games, don't include any jokes, because I know that I will riff off of people, and I will create jokes, and players will create jokes, and that's where the zaniness will come from for my games. If I make my games as serious as possible, it prevents them from getting so unbelievably zany and ridiculous, unless I'm going for that. But the story of them finding this island and then it having dinosaurs on it and then it having four-armed gorillas on it, and there was one that was psychic, and then they shoved that psychic gem into a jelly bean man that then became... you see where the zany craziness comes from. There's a merit to it, but I can look back at that and see so many situations which were written to be funny, they ended up being funny, and then I added extra funniness on top, which just blew them so far out of proportion, out of the realm of normality.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that it depends on what you want to run and what do you want to have fun with.
And we had so much fun. It was a very fun thing. Absolutely. But this is what made me realise, doing that, I can write myself into quite a few corners that I then have no idea how to get out of.
You know what? I would just run a campaign like this with no prep at all. I would just come to the table and ask my players what do they want to do next.
You start the session one just like that you've made characters individually with the players.
You get the session one and the next one, but whenever I come to the corner, I just stop and just say, what do you do next?
Yeah.
Because the one thing that I learned and it burned into my GMing mindset is them, and I again forgot what I was going to say mid-sentence.
Something was heavily embedded into your GMing mindset.
Yeah. But we were talking about that's just my memory. As I mentioned, that's just my memory.
So you were. What was happening then?
That's why I need notes.
Going back to
you need to. You are at the stop because of the craziness of your players, and if that's the game you want to play, it's great. But ask the players what they want to do, because what I was going to say, our job as GMs is not finding solution to the problems. That's the player's job. Our job is to create interesting problems for the players. If they still have
the players.
We are getting into nitty-gritty details, because I would say it depends on the situation and the campaign we are running.
True.
Because I won't be and get ink my players in a lot of campaigns I run. I will keep. Exactly.
You can't really and the attack roll on a hydrogen atom. Why not?
Well, it still depends on the campaign,
This is a legendary sword. I should be allowed to split the atom.
And especially like some anime do or stuff that or sci-fi settings sometimes introduce something that is so sharp that can split atoms, then fuck yeah. It all depends on what we want to do.
The true power of a
if I wanted to,
The true power of a Vorpal sword is to behead anything, including atoms. So, I think this makes the Vorpal sword far too powerful, if that's true. It just becomes a nuke sword.
Well, it depends on the campaign. If you're running a campaign when we are doing a crazy shit, then yes. If we are playing more grounded campaign, you are allowed to say no to player ideas. Even if they are cool, you are setting the boundaries of your own game.
See, I think that leads me down a train of thought about going back to the sort of the fact that I've been uh, playing games for I've been creating games for kids a lot this year, and now when I first started playing the first campaign that I did, I made some very serious mistakes because of the whole yes anding thing. And it was a big lesson to learn, especially with that yes anding may work very well with adults that can understand what the implications and complications of the story might be. What they can understand the setting that you've put it in. Um, Kids, if you yes and everything they say, there is a it just stops working. And you go down routes that just you at some point you're like, okay, this is this is nuts and we need to dial it back. How the hell do I bring these kids down? And the first campaign that I ran was with them. I made this very yes and approach. I was going to just, it was very cartoony and it was very playful. Kane asking what is yes anding. So there is a concept in improvisation where whatever someone else says, you go, yes, okay, and this is also true.
We are doing this. This is now true.
It's like, great, you've taken that, you've made it true, now I'm going to expand upon it with an and. But that's a good way of keeping things flowing, and it is a useful tool in your arsenal, but you also have to consider that the original point someone has made has to fit within the world's boundaries, and the next point that you have has to also fit within the world's boundaries. And if you have vague boundaries, like what I was doing initially with these kids, I created a world that had a lot of, like, it was a very soft magic system that I hadn't decided exactly how far they could go with it. It was not using Dungeons and Dragons specifically because I didn't want to make them understand all of the rules. So I went with a very soft thing that they could then. There was less that they could understand there were less boundaries that they could understand, so they got very outlandish. And where I changed it in the second time around was I set very, very clear boundaries in the next one. I created the map that surrounds us right now on this stream is the map that I created in Incarnate for that campaign that I ran with the kids, and the whole premise of it was that it's in a world where the players they have a job. Their whole intent is to go around from town to town, help people kill monsters and cook them. That was the whole premise. It was using the Beast Feast of Daggerheart. Daggerheart, by the way, great use for this system.
Delicious in dungeon.
It's delicious in dungeon, kind of that vibe. Monster Hunter Wilds situation. I also went with a Pokemon sort
it also
of
has a great storytelling, great foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm.
I first watched this, and after some turns it takes, I rewatched it and just pinpointed, oh, that was foreshadowing. That was foreshadowed here and here and here and here.
I watched Delicious in Dungeon about 2 or 3 times when I was preparing to make this campaign, and in the preparation for this, I did lay out I'm going to loop back to what we were talking about earlier about prep and knowing where you're going, because I still, in that first campaign that I did with them, I didn't know where I was going. That these are sessions that are an hour and a half. I had them twice a week, and it was like every week there was another 2 sessions. So prep had to be fast, and I had to know where I was going and what I was doing, and I realized very quickly I had no plan as to where I was going in that first campaign. So around Christmas, when we were swapping over to our new campaigns, I asked them, do you want to start a new one? They said yes. I started using Daggerheart, and I created this world, the world of Culbrin, the one that sits around us now. And I came up with a bunch of specific things I knew I wanted to happen. but had no idea how to get there. And that's I think the sweet point that made this second part of the year work so well. And that I think is the sweet point I've learnt from my own DMing style in terms of the balance of prep and improv. I have to know where I'm going and what I want to get to, and then once I know that, I can just, whenever I see an opportunity to telegraph it, I don't stop myself from telegraphing it a little bit. Every time I'm like, okay, I know that is what I'm aiming for. I want them to meet this NPC at this place. How do I telegraph to them that I want them to go over here? And that, like, these guys are the bad guys, but they're not going to be doing anything particularly bad just yet. That's coming later. Because I added, like, a Team Rocket type bad guy into this world as well. And there was... I just realised that by having these specific elements I wanted to get to, but not really knowing how they were going to get there, and letting them decide which directions they were going to go, and then I could look a couple of sessions ahead and go, right, by here, roughly, by the 3 sessions down the line, I want them to be in this town doing this. How do I get them there in that space of time? And that was pretty much the majority of my prep. And then in between that, it was like picking Monster of the Week, or deciding on the complication or the puzzle they were going to be facing, or fitting in some English language exercises that they were going to do along the way. That was the majority of my prep from that point. And then sort of knowing where I was going, knowing what I wanted to happen, and slowly planning it out with improv in between was how I ended up doing that. How do you think that? Do you have any comments on that?
Yeah, I have actually quite a lot of comments, and I probably forget about 90% of them.
Naturally, I think I had more points than that too, but I forgot half of them on the way. So bad memory grows.
This is actually still very important topic to also raise to other and fresh GMs and also players, because there are some players and some GMs that will think this is a railroading. This is not railroading.
No.
This is running a structured campaign.
Yeah.
You're suggesting players to go from the point of interest to the point of interest. You have to do something here, and then you're supposed to go there because there is your next point of interest. And you are not knowing, as you said, how the players will get there, what will happen, how they will solve those problems. This is improvisation. This is a collaborative storytelling. But making sure that the campaign has actual story and structure, this is it. And I'm doing the very same thing. You also said about telegraphing. The difference with my telegraphing is when I'm running a campaign, when I weaved everybody's stories together, then I have multiple things that I want to remember to telegraph.
Yeah.
And it's much simpler if you're just running, for example, like a campaign from a book or something like that. But what I wanted to comment on, it's actually interesting that we have a lot of inspiration to draw from other sources, how to guide players somewhere. I come from an interest and background. I loved board games. As a child, I'm still loving board games.
Yeah.
Board games are where they were my first love. Right now, they're kinda packed with TTRPGs together but being these separate things, something along those lines. But when you get the board games that have your own campaign, that guide you through the campaign, there are points like that, and taking from inspiration. From example, you have introduction to the mission that could have some telegraphed narrative points. Yeah, okay, good
Hey.
joke. You could have a clue with what your mission objective is and where it sits within the story. What possible twists will be during that mission? And a lot of that stuff happens also in video games. Video games are guiding a player, is all about video games are all about guiding the player in the right direction, even in the very linear games. Even in the old time games, when you are just, for example, having a platformer that is guiding, you have a stage you need to guide through, or anything else. The currently very popular method of painting yellow the points that you can possibly climb to onto. That's guiding how they are using the light, how they are
Say that you've recently been playing God of War without saying that you've recently played God of War.
Also, on the many other things, I was actually playing God of War recently, over the last weekend.
Talk about story. Oh yeah.
Yeah, great story, and the plot twist with the ending, all of that. I actually knew that story. I watched a live play many years ago when it came out, and just recently I was managed to actually play. I forgot most of it, so I was able to enjoy the story once more. Yeah.
Every time Kane comments something, my instant reaction is to read it in Philomena Kunk's voice.
I have no idea who it is, but...
Which is ironic, because I haven't got a clue what I'm doing in anything.
But what's fascinating about this hobby is that we can draw inspiration and apply methods from very different sources, because currently all media are in some point storytelling. Even there was a freaking kind of infamous Polish series. Well, not necessarily Polish, but it was run in Polish television. Moda na Sukces. That was a series for
modern
basically
success.
Older. It's like mode for success. Yeah, this is easy translation. It was like a telenovela for older people, and all of that. I remember my grandma, and it had like staggering amounts of episodes, like over 3,000 and maybe even more. I remember just seeing one of the episodes when I was at my grandma and seeing episode 3000 something something. Yeah, I saw that.
Christ, that's a long
That's
ass
a proper
campaign.
reaction.
That's a long ass campaign.
But you could even draw and find positive things from even that. I didn't watch it, but I like it. It has a reputation as kind of sort of rubbish series.
It's
That
sort of like
everybody had a romance with everybody and all of that.
yeah, television slop, soap slop.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Um,
it's a soap
so
slopper.
you, yeah. So you could even find positive things from how they are writing stuff like that. So it differs from media to media, whether it's games, books, comics, TV series, films, and everything else in between. It's a different parts of storytelling. Just, well, it is a storytelling through a different medium. So even though some methods doesn't apply one to one, we can still get ideas from them. How to guide players, how to make better stories.
Absolutely. No, I think with me when I was younger, it very much many of my inspirations came from video games, because as I mentioned, I was you know the whole dyslexia ADHD thing sort of ended up with me not being able to read the books I wanted to. There were very few books I actually could read, and they had to be rather short in order for me to read them. I found a lot of trouble with that. Just not from the perspective of the words jumping around, but from the perspective of not being able to stay on topic while I was reading it. So a lot of my inspirations came from the video games I was playing, which of course had a slightly more rapid release of dopamine that kept me that kept my attention span on the ball. And for the record, Toby, feels great. Feels great to have stole the soap slopper thing out from a disabled man. Feels great. Uh, but my oldest inspirations come from things like I would say that my first video game that I really got stuck into was Pokemon, and the structure of Pokemon I thought would be absolutely perfect for these kids that I was developing this game for. It sets from the get-go a very clear goal. You are to go around the world and meet the gym leaders, battle them, take their badges. At the end, you become the champion. You pretty much know that from the beginning of the game, even as a kid. And that's the kind of inspiration I took for this, for the structure of the entire journey. There are 4 main places in the map that I created. There's Valverin, Flavuego, and Polter Heights, and then underneath me on this thing, there's a town called Round Table. Each one of them has a gourmet in it, which is like a master cook that represents a different form of cooking. You've got one that represents technique, one that represents flavor, the other one that represents presentation, and one that represents community. And the whole map of the story was you had to go round to each and every one of them, starting with community but not being able to complete it, because they need all of the others first. It's sort of like you don't have enough gym badges for this yet.
Yeah.
And they ultimately needed to come to the realization that the working together and solving the problems together is what they really learned. The main message was the friends they learned along the way. That was the whole thing.
Yeah.
So like
typical stuff.
like technique doesn't mean anything doesn't mean anything on its own. It only means something if it's a technique like everybody has agreed on is the sort of the way to do it. And even then, changing the technique is fun and gives people a fresh perspective. That's only useful if there's more than one person. Flavor. Different people have different taste buds. Different people like different things. It's important to talk about that and enjoy different things. Community was a part of each and every one of them. But I'm sort of digressing here. But the inspiration from there was the gym leaders from Pokemon. That came from a very, very young age. I've had an obsession with Pokemon, and I mean, the modern state of Pokemon, I don't really play them on modern games. Don't really care too much about them. But the main memories I have with those games have stuck with me. But yeah, you can take inspiration from virtually anywhere. And whether it's books, whether it's there is a line, I think, that is very blurry between where, like, taking inspiration and directly ripping something off. And I think there's a lot of people who will see something similar to something they know and think immediately, oh, that's a rip-off. They're copying it. But there is a line to walk where nothing we do is original if you're going to be that granular. But everything we do is inspired by something else, not just as storytellers, but as people. And there is if you're having a thought, it's been inspired by another thought, which was inspired by another thought. And it's just a cascade of thoughts that are rolling around in a head that becomes something that you create. And it is I think there's a fine line to walk where I like taking a lot of inspiration from things that I really, really enjoy. There were a lot of things in Uzaran, the campaign I was talking about earlier, that were heavily inspired by a whole bunch of media I was obsessed with at the time. When I created Ugla, the giant four-armed psychic gorilla monkey with a gem in his forehead, I created him when I was watching The Flash and reading the Flash comics, and I was quite a big fan of the villain that's in Flash called Gorilla Grodd, which is just this big-ass psychic gorilla. And I took that concept and went, I'm going to make this mine. And that's where that idea came from.
And it's amazing how many inspirations we can get from anywhere. But if it's your own game and your home game, you are not doing it like professionally as I wouldn't agree it's for it to be like official game, like even charity or something like that, unless you point it right away that, I don't know, we have a game that is directly inspired by Pokemon, and there will be rip-offs. But sometimes you can use direct rip-offs. I'm mostly not using them. I'm almost always putting some twist or mixed few ideas together into one. But I see few situations when you can directly rip something off without worry. One is when your players, it won't ruin players' immersion or something and their engagement in the game. And this is a thing that everybody knows at your table. They will be happy to see and recognize that ripoff. It depends from table to table, but you might find it is working. And other thing is when you know nobody will recognize.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a person that has been into a lot of indie stuff, and for years I basically moved into indie, for example, games when I started to feel like, even in the late 20 teens, around 2020, and even by some companies earlier, the games they were releasing were stale and bad, and they were riding only on their good renown. But they were empty inside. So I started moving into looking for smaller but better things,
Yeah.
because the main line was rubbish.
It's when games are
Mainstream.
literally like the larger games are only created just so that some big company can hold on to an IP and make money.
Yeah.
Loses all allure. I'm a huge fan of Halo, for example. Anything after Halo 4, I'm just like, no, doesn't exist.
Halo is on my list.
I recommend it. I recommend it.
Kane, thank you very much. I hope so. Next stream, for sure not, because I mentioned I have Monday games, so I will be able to appear at most every other week, but it's up to your host. I'm up to it.
I have quite a few people that I have in mind to make guest appearances, because there are a lot of people whose brains I want to pick on the topic of TTRPGs from various different perspectives, because I have a lot of different people who come from different walks of life that want to come on and do it. But in the future, seeing how well this is going, absolutely you can come back. I allow it. I accept it. But yeah,
thank you very much.
I mean, it's sort of like I'm thinking of doing like a guest thing. I'm thinking, how would I make it happen? Maybe about once a month. I think I could do this for like the time being, because I also have a bunch of other things
I was also thinking about that.
See you later, Kane. Thank you for making the stream hell once more, as per usual.
It wasn't hell. It was fun. Well, yeah. When trying to keep on the topic, and I have very one line in my brain, so
yeah.
I cannot speak and read. I cannot listen to you and read the chat. I'm muting one or another. So this is a bit of the distraction, but it was funny.
Yeah, best to not read until there's like a break in it, a break in the conversation. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
We went off topic, and I don't remember what we
were talking about inspirations and the times where it's okay to use it when you're with your friends. I think one of the things, the bit where people won't understand it, like the bit where people won't get it.
I was getting into the example.
Onto indies, indie studios.
Right now, the current campaign that I'm running, I'm using Fabula Ultima as end system.
I've never played it. I'll happily hear more about it. But go
on. If any of my players are lurking here, because I also sent them a link. Well, it will be a minor spoiler for you, but nothing of importance really. It's directly inspired by an indie game, Potionomics. And it's basically a game about an alchemist, a young alchemist that is running alchemy shop, You are getting ingredients, you are making potions from them, and it's economic game with some deck building aspect, with some story and relationship aspect. So it's this kind of jumble of genres. It's pretty good. When you want chillier game, it's pretty good game to chill, but also be engaged and have your brain think about some stuff. And I directly rip the whole setting from the game. There is an
The whole
island.
setting. I was expecting you to be like, there's a creature in there that I was like, oh, yeah, no, I want to use that. I'm gonna actually use
No,
that. You took the whole setting.
I
Shameless.
took the whole setting. The setting is that the shop is on the island that some time ago experienced. There was a bad witch. Some heroes uh, took a war against that witch, and it ended in a wild, magical, not understood explosion that basically shifted the whole island with magical biomes, magical creatures, and all of that. In the video game, you are not engaged in that basically at all. You're only engaged with that is you're sending
Okay.
your befriended adventurers to different part of the island for them to get you resources.
Right. Okay.
So I took this whole island. I even rip off the whole map. I just found the map from the game with as little information
Like
as
no UI,
possible.
as few UI elements around it as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I
Damn.
just printed and gave it to my
But I
players, and
can.
I have an whole island of ideas, different biomes. I put my own story twist into it. I changed a little bit. I changed the story that is told in Oceanomics because there is some overarching story that I won't get into it. But I took the setting. I changed the backstory a little bit. I'm not saying more if my players are lurking here.
Just in case they're like,
Uh,
we gotta go play that story now. We gotta go figure out that game.
we have a game scheduled for next week, so we will be picking up after a few months break next week. I'm very, very excited for it. But yeah, this is such a niche game that I knew the probability that somebody from my player group knows it is like under 1%.
Yeah.
So
And
I
it's
wasn't
I can also
afraid to just
completely
take a whole of it.
understand why you'd want to do it. Especially if there was an element of the game which you wanted to explore. You liked the world, you liked what was created, but there's something you didn't get to explore in that game.
Yeah, and you don't get to explore
That
that
is an
location.
infuriating little point that I think if I had that situation where I was like, I like this world and there's a part of this world that I can't get to, I can't get it, I would want to pluck that and go, right, I'm gonna find someone else who has no idea about this, and then I'm gonna make them experience what I think would be in that part of the world, which would be that would be so much fun.
yeah, and I started it similarly. Uh, I just throw them in there that there is an adventuring guild, as in the setting.
Mm-hmm.
You're one of the group adventurers that either go um, kill some monsters. Fun idea that the setting introduces um, the ecology protection.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to have acceptance to kill species, and otherwise you will have problems at the guild
Mm-hmm.
because it is meant to keep the balance of the current ecosystem.
That's an idea I might steal.
Uh,
Just as a side point, that's an idea I might steal for the world I was talking about, the world that surrounds us right now. That's a good like having a guild that's like for the creature protection, like which ones you can eat, which ones you can't, which ones you can hunt. That's
yeah,
interesting. I like that. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
and but it's meant to be able to like apply science to it to better first understand what was the cause of this magic, how this magic shifted this land,
Mm-hmm.
how it what changed, and all of that. So that was a starting point of my campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I also made my players to give me some kind of like not necessary enemy or but could be a rival, could be a friend that you don't necessarily see eye to eye type of character. So I instantly put some relationship pressures
Mm-hmm.
for the characters, but I put it as I used it as a starting point, and now under the premise of guild missions, I'm starting to throw elements that are foreshadowing some future problems. And I
Mm-hmm.
also took that settings and started asking myself what could be an everyday problems at this setting. How could different people react? um, I didn't use that motive yet, but if this a full basically mercenary operation and everybody as a guild is kind of mercenary, well, some groups will try to use power and exploit other groups. And
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the topics, one of the themes I am planning to introduce later. So, yeah, and there's a lot of things that you can take inspiration from, or just either twist them or just straight rip off. But you need to be careful about rip-offs.
Mm-hmm.
I won't say that they're always a bad idea, but you need to do them with understanding what are you doing,
Yes.
why, and in what it is supposed to achieve.
I absolutely agree with that. I think there's I like the topic that we're on about sort of like taking things almost directly from sources of media just because you like that thing and you want to expand upon it and like you see something else that you could do with it, but it isn't quite you haven't had the chance to quite explore it yet. And there was an element we actually spoke about earlier that I introduced, which was a part of the Uzaran campaign that I created, which was the jelly bean person. His name in the campaign was Blue. And as I mentioned earlier, he was something called a non-Newtonic golem, which basically he was just a type of... He was like the lowest level of golem you can have that is just made out of magical jelly held together by magical force. And their prime purpose in the world of Uzaran is entertainment. They don't really do much damage with each other to other people. They hit you, and it's basically just like you're getting slapped with a wet fish. That's basically what it is for the most part. But if they hit each other, they fall apart.
I'm sorry, but for some reason, an idea of slapping somebody with a wet fish.
It's a good image.
It is good image, but I may be slightly racist here, but it sounds for me so like Great Britain.
Oh, it's a very British phrase. Very British phrase.
This is a very British idea.
It gives me Monty Python. And I think that's the image that comes to mind. Is that one scene where they're dancing back and forth and whacking each other around the face with a fish?
I don't remember that one specifically.
There is a scene.
It's very in line for a British humor.
And there's a link. Copy that link and give it a watch. Give it a watch later.
I will.
There is a I think it's from Monty Python's Flying Circus. Where they literally... It's the TV series of Monty Python, where they are...
I know, I watched a bit of Monty Python, but I was too young to really understand it.
But there is a scene where they're on the edge of a canal, and one of them is dancing back and forth and hitting the other one round the face with a fish, and then the other one pulls out a fish that's far too big, about the size of the other man, and hits them with it into the water.
About ripoffs, I have a ripoff in that campaign that straight comes from Holy Grail.
Yes.
I have a murderous rabbit, and I made. I won't say it in Polish, but not. Anagram, but the thing that you take the first letters of the word. Acronym, yeah. So I made a whole official name, like bloodthirsty something rabbit, or of death, for example. Mm-hmm. That isn't a literal translation, and I made it for the anagram that spells Krzyś in Polish, which is
Christopher.
Yeah, this is abbreviation of the Christopher in Poland. So I layered it on the top that this is our own inside joke, to layer it on the straight ripoff.
Yes. I mean, that's I love doing that, and that's exactly what I did with, going back to what I was saying as well, it's exactly what I did with Blue, because the non-Newtonic golems, the whole premise of them being purely for entertainment, where to people they don't really do anything, but to each other, when they hit each other, there's an explosion of magical force that will knock another one wobbling to the floor like jelly. That was there was a thing that I introduced. I introduced these characters. There were various colours of them that you can get, and there was a competition where if you made bets on which one would win, and they won, you would get that. You would have that golem assigned to you, and they bet on Blue. Blue won. Blue then became theirs, and they got a blue golem. But these golems, the non-Newtonic golems, were designed based off of a party game that's on Steam that I love, and it's called Gang Beasts. I don't know that's what they are. That's literally just all they are, is jelly bean people like from Gang Beasts. And that's it. I just ripped them straight out of Gang Beasts and went, how can I fit these wrestling jelly people into my world? And so I created the non-Newtonic golem. I gave them a stat block where they were basically invulnerable unless you freeze them. And they were basically just they're not conscious. Will just take everything you say literally. And Blue became an additional member of the party from that point on, until they gave him a gem that they gave him a gem of intellect, which is the circlet of intellect, basically. So he went from having a 3 in intelligence to, I think it was either a 2 or a 3, but he went from a 2 or a 3 to a 19. That's gonna do some shit to a golem.
Have you watched the latest season of Vox Machina?
I have. Oh, that scene was my favourite. I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, that's a perfect representation. That's a perfect representation of what is going to happen.
I love it. It was.
But I might steal that idea of entertainment and apply it to my
genuinely
campaign.
steal the non-Newtonic golems. I'm going to be remaking them in Daggerheart as well. I'll send you the resources. I'll put the resources I
won't need resources. I will just steal an idea as I won't give them to players. Because I tend to try to not give players side character NPCs or pets.
Why?
I know they can be a lot of fun, but I also tend that they can very much derail the whole campaign sometimes.
Elaborate, because I've had a different experience with them.
But what I also like with world building, it's a great that you mentioned that, because, for example, entertainment isn't necessary to have an adventure, but so it's not necessarily necessary to run the game, but it's a great bit to just throw somewhere and while doing world building, ask yourself, what are people here doing for entertainment? And getting an idea like that, it fits well with my campaign. If I have weird creatures and basically the less dangerous location is the nearby forest, and I already established that various kind of slimes exist there, why not have some shady person capture a few of them and make an underbelly, this kind of ring for slimes.
Slime fighting ring, hell yes.
Yeah.
I like that. That's quite cool. But yeah, entertainment, I think, is also some of the best sessions that I've ever had that really bring together the players as a group are the ones where I've had the festivals, the competitions, the fight clubs, I in this session where I introduced this, we also had this entire session was basically them going off on a bender at a festival, and it involved meeting Blue. It involved them arm wrestling various people. It involved them gambling. I often will use Matt Mercer's gambling rules. You know, the sort of 1d8, 1d6, 1d4 that to represent poker.
It's fun.
I use that on a regular basis just to break tension. It works. I probably shouldn't do this, but it also works with the kids.
Wow.
It immediately breaks the tension, and there's nothing that will get these kids more interested than if they find some random guy at a tavern that's like, "You ready to play some cards?" It's weird.
Nothing will get kids more interesting than introducing I don't know how small of the children you are working with, but still introducing underage to gambling. Well, you
Here's the
probably
thing.
shouldn't say it openly, even though.
Here's the thing. Right? Here's the thing. I believe that in the games that we're playing, there is, especially when you play for younger kids, these kids were about 12, 13, by the way. So,
Okay.
when when you are playing for younger kids, this is an environment that you're creating that even with adults, when you're playing a TTRPG, you can experience quite vivid emotions while still being safe, right? So you can experience genuine fear and still be able to have that security of being able to come out of it, take a couple of breaths and go, okay, it's just a game, everything's okay. There is still that element, and I think with kids that is also important to be able to experience things in a way that when they can come out of it, they can see the consequences or they can see everything's kind of okay. And with the gambling thing, they lost a lot of money.
I was kind of provoking you there. I was kind of provoking you there because, yeah, by the way, I had some.
All children do yearn for the slots. They do. The slots and the
But
mines. The slots and the mines, people.
it is a great idea to teach them about gambling in such environment.
Exactly.
To show them, not just tell them, let them experience why this is very risky idea.
Yes, we did say slots and
So
mines. Toby, you were summoned. I hear the voice of Heron Melier, the artificer, from the dwarven artificer going, "Did someone say slots and mines?" I hear it. I hear it, Toby. But yeah, I mean,
and
it's a very important
it
point, I think, to provide these experiences in a controlled and an area where they can experience consequence and still come away from it and go, oh, that was awful, but at least that's just a game. I don't want to do that in real life.
and it's it's actually a great teaching method. Um, yeah, that's the RP. Some parents could disagree,
Probably.
but in the environment we have, especially with what's going on with mobile games and all of that, how some children can spend few hundred zlotys or whatever
Few hundred zloty of their
your
parents' money.
on
It's
just
remarkably easy to do, and they don't feel the consequences, but their parents do. There's a lack of understanding there.
yeah. And I think some regulations were headed in that direction, but I'm not sure what the state of it of them are.
I'm not sure.
But people are exploiting it, so it's great way to teach kids awareness to it, that hey, you are actually spending something that you don't really own or you don't have, or
Mm-hmm.
just teaching the kids like basic economics. You have that amount of money that you can spend on these items.
Yeah, and it's once you've lost all that money, it's gone. So you can't it's gone. There's no way of getting it back. These once the it's why I did this with the kids, and it's not the only situation where I've tried to push their boundaries a little bit. Hello, original panda.
Hi there.
I've tried to I try to push the boundaries with these kids, and I know at Tell Me we have discussions about what we can and can't do with the kids, and I stay in the bounds of those. It's very important to stay in the boundaries of those because those are rules and regulations that are designed to keep the kids safe and to keep me safe as a developer, as a game developer, to keep an idea of what we're actually to keep on track with what's appropriate. I'm not a teacher. I don't generally know that, so it's good to have those as boundaries. But I do also believe that it is very important to lightly push on the boundaries of the kids and introduce them to real world concepts through this through the elements that we can present as DMs. When you're putting together a story that includes genuine threat, one of the best moments that I had in the most recent campaign was when one of the students. This is one of the best things about Daggerheart as well, in my opinion. In this, one of the students decided to sacrifice themselves in a blaze of glory when they got presented the death moves options. They could have saved themselves, but they knew that if they didn't do a blaze of glory, the enemy was going to escape. But if they did the blaze of glory, there was a chance the enemy wouldn't. It wasn't a secure thing. They wouldn't definitely kill them, but it was they might. And they decided to take that gamble and see how it was going to work. They didn't succeed. The crit was not enough damage. They didn't roll enough damage to kill the enemy outright. The enemy still escaped and they went down. But because of that move, it set the next couple of sessions, the entire rest of the party joined together to try and bring them back. And this was a huge risk for them. They took it. It didn't pay off, but they earned more trust within the group as a result. So there was like an element of and this was a situation which ended with that we had to come away a couple of minutes later, just pull out of the session for a bit, and I had to talk to that child because they were crying. This brought a lot of emotions forward for them, and I talked to them afterwards, and I said, "Hey, everything's okay, everything's all right. It worked out okay. We can bring your character back. Is that what you would like?" And they said yes, and everyone was like, "We'll bring your character back. Don't worry." And it was a team bonding thing that they took this risk. But if I hadn't introduced that place where it was a genuine threat enough to provide that risk, that was a lesson they wouldn't have learned.
And what's fascinating, I will just guide this conversation in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
We are a grown-up man.
Mm-hmm.
But as I mentioned, I think I didn't mention that. For many years, I was basically only running games and very, very rarely playing as a character. But for some time, I was playing in the cyberpunk kind of live play server. We
like
had
text
were
threads or
text as well, but we had game masters that regularly threw up. Not threw
regularly game masters that regularly threw up. That's my favorite kind of game master.
No, I just my mind went and tried to just translate a phrase directly and literally from Polish to English, and it ended that way. Um, they were posting games from regularly, and there was a whole economics of the server. One of the things that Cyberpunk is about is making sure you have money for rent, for the food every month. So the server operated around that. You needed to apply for enough games monthly. It was around 2 or 3 was enough to make your character not starve. Um, if you wanted to be kind of optimal with the economics of the system, you needed to play like at least 4 games monthly to
That
make
sounds like
sure that.
that sounds like a wildly elaborate system that requires a lot of maintenance.
But it was fun and it
Oh,
was organized and it was working. But in between the games, there were some players that enjoyed just jumping on and playing some games. But also on the server, there was a group of role players that regularly role played via text by on the side of the applying to the missions and actually playing sessions. So I had so much fun with them. And this was actually my first time on that server. Then, when my own character died during mission, and I loved my character. I'm not sure if everybody has a type, but I think there is a time when a character type that many people develop over time that is your go-to character concept.
I
For
think
example, for video games and things
yeah.
that you often play as this kind of character.
I
So
I am recorded saying I like my characters to punch good and have no shoes.
yeah,
So,
uh, and my type of character is having her name is always Fairy with the weird pronunciation in between to the fire being fierce. Uh, so
I think I can
she
envision
can
it.
be
Yeah.
impulsive. She can be impulsive. She has red and yellow hair, also like hinting at the fire. Um, uh, but she is smart and she is kind of like this type of person that talks through problems. So makes way through problems by talking their way out of them, if possible. So I was playing at her. That was my first character at that server, and I had a whole basically her life on the side that developed with us role playing in between sessions. Uh, and when she died, because Cyberpunk, one of its precepts is it is a deadly system. It's very easy to die. Um,
Tiggy,
she
zostaw
died,
mało.
and I was as a grown adult. It was like 2 years ago. I was 26. I literally was crying and grieving after her.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of amazing, as you said, what emotions are able to develop in that environment, and we are able to experience them in, as you said, safe environment. And that was the point for me, that I had like this light bulb lighting up, that
Mm-hmm.
it is crazy. And I didn't feel that attached to that character until she died.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just realized how attached and how into that role playing, and how immersed I was in that character.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was on the server, I was literally living there as her.
Mm-hmm. No, see that's ultimately the magic of what we can do, the power of TTRPGs, and actually playing out the story as this character. It's one thing to, I mean, that's not to undersell other mediums. I mean, books have gotten me to cry. I've cried so many times at animations. Lord of the Rings still fucking gets me. Every time I watch it, the last couple scenes, that last 20-minute spiel about the how things trail off after the end of the Battle of the Fields of Pelennor. That whole section, I'm just bawling my eyes out the entire time. But it's it's all about having traveled with these characters through thick and thin, and I don't think many things can quite get that impact like TTRPGs can. Like when you have been following this character, and you've been making their choices as them, you've been watching them grow, you've been growing with them in some cases.
You, in in a specific way, you almost were with them since their birth, because you
Yeah,
made their backstory
you
up to this
created
point.
them.
Yeah,
There is a genuine love that gets developed, and it does feel like when a character dies, there is that is the end of a part of you, in the same way as like losing a friend would be. In
yeah.
my opinion, that's how it always turns out. So whenever a character dies in a game that I've run, I always, it's only happened a handful of times, but I always, you answered the age old question, well, how did I get here exactly? You asked where, how they got there, and you determined where they went, and now you've finished that story, and there is a mourning to that. But in the in on along that topic, one of the best sessions I think I've run to date, and Toby, you'll be there. This was after the whole. This
I'll
was the same.
I'll I'll, I'll, I'll
Yeah.
just add that, for people, do not be like, um, do not take it in a wrong direction.
Mm,
This is one of my most memorable moments, and just uh, my most memorable experiences from TTRPGs that I couldn't get from anywhere else.
mm,
And it, even a character's death, it it still has value. Wait, don't rant on D&D. Don't rant on D&D and resurrections and
don't do it.
saving throws and all of that.
Don't do it.
Don't rant on it.
Yes.
So even
Next.
feeling those negative emotions, how some people call them, it is also a part of this game and a part that can you make a richer person
Oh, it
in
absolutely
your
can.
personality. And it when you live through it, it's also a very it's not a happy moment. You're not necessarily having fun at the moment. You could, but it's up to your attachment to the character. But when you build an attachment to the character, it may be not fun at the moment, but it will be a lifelong experience that you will take from TTRPGs, and it will be something that you will remember for years.
Damn straight.
And I highly like encourage everybody else to not have the idea of just winning the game,
Mm-hmm.
because I think we also sometimes lose ourselves in the idea to win the game, to succeed with our stuff, and succeed on what we want to do. I love the idea of failing forward.
Absolutely. I honestly think that that's also good experience for life in general. Like the concept of accepting that things will not always work in your favor, and even your failures are still something you can take with you moving forwards.
Yeah,
It's genuinely something very important to have in mind in just in general life. But I think my I've never played a character that I never played a character that, like, after a long period of time has died. Usually, when I'm playing a character, the campaign dies before my character will. Um, which is not. It's not me trying to win. I just can't find a good time to die, you know. But I've played campaigns where sometimes I've DM'd campaigns where I've put an enemy creature. I've just intentionally made them deadly, not to kill someone. That's my wife. Not to kill someone, but to show the threat. And it has resulted in a character's death from someone trying to protect others from that threat. And one of the main times I created this creature called a night blinding that was like, the concept was, what if you created something that had never seen a human person and was trapped in the Shadowfell and lived its entire life hunting shadows, and was like a shadow that had become a cannibal for other shadows. What would that turn into? And you get an incredibly deadly creature of the darkness that does that's like absorbs sources of light, including the sources of light inside of people's eyes. Hence why it's called the night blinding. Uh, and its whole
cool.
purpose was to cause this. It was to be a threat. One moment. Hold on a second. I need to open the door.
I'm just gonna say that yeah, what is great is creating that feeling of threat, because we sometimes drive ourselves in the direction that we want to give the players like a fair fight, the balanced encounter and stuff like that, when it's actually you need to understand deeply the system and how the balance encounters are done with the system and all of that. I won't get into nitty gritty and hate on D&D.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Oh, you
But
mean that the one thing with the really difficult to understand balance system that doesn't really balance anything?
we aren't supposed to
This is
get
true.
into the round of
This is
about
true.
D&D.
This is true.
So please don't provoke me.
I revoke my
But
provocation.
yeah, as you were talking, speaking of when our players, that's that's inherently my style of playing and my style of running the campaigns. That's how I do stuff, because I want that dark feelings of being threatened, or things being hard to decide, to make your choices, and all of that. Your players need sometimes a reminder that not everything will be a fair fight. If
Mm.
you uh, It's exceptional job. I'm not on the current time, but Brennan Lee Mulligan does an exceptional work with that in the fourth campaign of
Oh
Critical
yeah.
Role.
Oh yeah.
He says at the one of the very first sessions that it won't be balanced. It will be according of the world that surrounds the players.
Hmm.
And
And it's up to the
that,
players to bring that balance, to decide what is within balance and capable for them and not. But it's also
yeah, the
up to us to
feeling that you are,
telegraph it.
it's more like to us to talk about is at the session zero.
Ah, damn straight.
Uh,
Yeah.
but that he just watching hearing him say that, I realized, yeah, I was thinking about it like subconsciously,
Hmm.
and having problems with that, and trying to solve them. Um, but when the game, it's collaborative storytelling, and just sometimes that's also one of the rules of storytelling, but also game design,
Hmm.
that you take out part of from the player, uh, a thing that they should have control, and you take this control away, or this element from the player.
Hmm.
Um and it also applies to TTRPGs. If you want to run like a funny game, as you mentioning, well, this is, you don't want to have that experience at the table. But if you want to have that nitty grittiness, or darker theme, more grounded, make it feel less game-ish, gamely. Uh, Remind the players that no, the world is not in their control. If we are running a story within the world, yeah, there is always a bigger fish. If you are running
Thank
a
you very much,
story
Ollie.
within the world, um, it's important to also think, well, it won't be fair all the time.
Hmm.
World isn't fair. And if we are talking about storytelling, the first point when the story begins is a world in imbalance. If the situation is balanced, there is no problem and no story to be told.
Exactly.
So if there is an imbalance, there will be in the world there will be imbalance experiences, and sometimes our players get, in my opinion, too comfortable with that. That yeah, they are driving this train, they are driving this campaign with their choices. Well, this is true, but they are set in the mind. Speaking of especially D&D, but it can apply to any system. If a GM always prepares a balanced encounter within the system, it will create the points that the players feel secure. They feel no threat because they know that every encounter there is a way for them to beat it. It's not necessary, must. The goals can be different. The goal may be just surviving or escaping or getting the MacGuffin.
Mm-hmm.
And
The something that will turn the balance in their favour, maybe slightly. Something that helps
yeah,
tip the balance back into a balanced state where things are what you'd expect at the end of a campaign, where everything's in equal balance.
maybe, but maybe not necessarily.
True.
But also, it it drives the conflict. It raises the stakes. It gets the tension into the game. I noticed by myself that I get bored. I was getting bored with D&D because that was one of the things I was doing at the time. That everything that I tried it to be balanced,
Mm-hmm.
and with D&D, it's hard.
Yes.
But I was trying to give my best to try to do that, and I was getting frustrating and irritating because I was starting to get in that loop that I must provide balanced encounters.
Mm-hmm.
And after I finished my D&D campaign and swore to never run D&D again, I realized that, well, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you were talking about something and I took it
Man,
into
that's
my own direction when
it's
you're
completely
letting your
okay.
wife in.
It's completely okay. That was a very great point that you were making. And I think it loops us back around to we're approaching 3 hours in, so I think what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna sort of slowly wrap up. Or very I guess I say slowly wrap up, but by slowly wrap up I mean fairly quickly wrap up. But this loops us back around into a point we spoke about not too long ago, which is that TTRPGs provide a safe space within which people can experience that imbalance. It's it's a good place to experience fear. It's a fantastic place to experience relationships and um, the community of having a party of friends, a mishmash batch of bumblefucks that figure each other out slowly over time. It's not always a fun and comfortable experience in the moment, but with the ability to come out of it afterwards, after you've felt those intense emotions and go, okay, so now I have a little bit of experience dealing with that kind of stress or that kind of tension or the loss of a character or a friend. Maybe it was an NPC that is lost. Maybe it's your character. Maybe it's a character from another one of the players. In any case, it's a safe environment in which to experience that. And thank you very much for joining today.
I was just add a few
Please
sentences
go
to
ahead.
wrap also what you said at. Yeah,
I pass the torch to you.
what I encourage everybody to do and experiment with TTRPGs. Find things that, for I do this. I do this with my player characters when I play as a player. Every time I push myself with that character into a territory that I feel at least slightly uncomfortable with, and into the character, but the territory I want to work with, that I want to push myself into that direction. And I want to push you and encourage you to go and test things out, not always focus on like winning the game, always succeeding. Embrace the failure, embrace the hard things. I was gonna say earlier, but I forgot when I was talking about negative feelings. Well, the grief, the loss, and even sadness, anger are, we call them in society and in our languages negative feelings usually. Well, no, they are part of us. There are not something that we should throw away and push out of us. They are hard to deal with feelings, but they are not inherently negative. And TTRPGs in the safe environment give you an opportunity to figure them out as well. But just explore stuff that you are not able to explore in your day-to-day life, or it happens rarely, or it happens like once a lifetime or something like that. Try pushing yourself out of your comfort zone.
It's a place to
and
safely push yourself.
Yeah, and well, if you have a safe group, because there are some groups
obviously.
that make sure you have a safe group. If not, why are you playing with them?
Yes,
in the first place.
Absolutely.
But just try things out and experiment. It can be a really great experience after all. Despite the fact that you were pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, but when you apply the game and the table atmosphere, the players always are making jokes, and I love it. I have very specific humor, but it is a fun, friendly atmosphere in which you can, on top of that fun experience, explore something underneath it that is way more deep than just, not to shame dungeon crawlers and mean mine and all of that. This is also a way to play the game. And interact with them and have fun, but you don't necessarily need to just focus on winning the fights, solving the problems, succeed on everything. You can find much more meaning in TTRPGs.
And with that, I think we're going to call it a day. Is there anything you'd like to do as a final word, a plug maybe? I know you have some games coming up on Start Playing. Is that correct?
That was my ending thought.
Yes.
What thoughts I want to give the players from all these conversations and GMs, because we are two sides of the same coin. yeah, I currently have two paid games on Start Playing in Cyberpunk system.
Mhm.
Well, they are not finding many people right now, which is zero. Since in last 2 weeks, despite Edge Runners 2 being announced, I'm super hyped for it, and I love Cyberpunk. Yeah,
Thank you, Taylor.
CS mythology.
We'll be stopping sometime soon as well, but thank you very much for joining. Thank you, Taylor.
But so if somebody is interested in cyberpunk game, also beginner friendly, but I told you what my style is of playing.
Yes.
You will give me directions of what story you want to play, and
Yes.
I make it work.
It's very variable.
So you can DM me at Discord, or you can find me at startplaying.com, also AceOfSables, or you can DM me to talk if you have interesting things or questions, or you want me to have a deeper dive in some topics from here. I may possibly in a few days, weeks, I need to decide. I may change those cyberpunk games into Daggerheart Age of Umbra games. I said you
good frame.
dark
Good
settings and all of that. So
I love that stuff. I love Age of
also
Umbra.
hoping to get some players from the
Shadowlands.
Critical Role,
Yeah.
Age of Umbra, a campaign that just started.
Capitalize.
So I'm trying to maybe get somebody interested from there, because I think I have a lot of experience, and it's nice to get a few side bucks from what you love doing, and just slowly be able to push it into a profession and something that gives you profit, and possibly, hopefully, in the future, want your whole career about it. Maybe it will happen, maybe it won't. It is a kind of dream of mine. So
we can live
if
in
you
hope.
want,
We can live in hope and take it day by day.
so if anybody is interested in support me by the games are $25 per session per person. So I know the people are in England
Mostly.
or outside of the Poland. It's not much money, and even in the Polish standards, well, 100 zloty weekly, where there are many hobbies that eat much more than that, but they do it in the quiet way. Yes. So honestly, it's not staggering price. I think it's very fair price, actually, even for the Polish standards. So if you're interested, DM me and we talk it out.
Excellent.
Thank you very much for hosting.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Inviting me.
I hope to see more of you in the future. We've had a hell of a conversation here, and thank you everyone for joining with your views. It's been fantastic to see so many people joining. I mean, we've had hovering around 8 or 9 for the majority of this. That's more than usual. Amazing.
I so know that we peaked around like 12 or 13.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's honestly, I'm very happy with that. I'm very happy that so many people decided this was an interesting way to spend their evening. Thank you all very much, and I think we'll call it a day there. So
yeah, and thank you to listening us rambling for hours.
We rambled. I think we rambled well. We rambled all right. That was a good ramble.
Another two straight white men having a podcast.
Hell yeah. That's exactly what we need. Anyway, thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice night. Have a nice week. Goodbye.